Coach, how do you assess the defense right now as you come into the bye week and get ready for this run that starts at Temple?
Yeah, I think the major thing we're looking to do, Scott, is just continue to improve. I think we've been able to do that over the last few weeks. I've been pleased with the way that the guys have gone about their work. I think we're practicing and preparing at a higher level than we did earlier in the season, and we've been able to buy into what we've been calling the stacking principle around here, where if we buy into practicing hard on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and not just get by those days, then as the weeks go by, we're going to continue to get better and better. And I think that's what we've begun to see from our group. But make no mistake about it, we got a lot of work to do, and we're ready. We're chomping at the bit to get back out there and get to work.
How impressed have you been with this defense's ability to create turnovers?
Yeah, it's been something that's been a big emphasis for us. We know we've got to do that. For us to be successful defensively, is we got to do a great job taking the ball away. And as a coach, I learned early in my career, you get what you emphasize. And I think our coaching staff has done a great job emphasizing those things in practice. And I think the players have really bought into it as well. So that's become a major focal point for us at practice. And I think the guys, enjoy, that pursuit of the football. And have done a really nice job. Like we talk about, specifically punching the white stripe of the football, getting shots on the ball. They get points for that, during a game, during practice, when we're tracking practice, grading games, all those things. And then obviously when we get to the quarterback, sacking the football, not just the quarterback, and matching the throwing arm, front side or backside, and guys have really bought into those things, and it's been big for us defensively to get the offense back out on the field with some of those situations.
It also seems like the depth you have, though sometimes not the biggest in numbers, pretty key in the individual players when they've been able to come in when needed.
Yeah, I think the more guys we can play, the better, and I think as a staff, we're all trying to continue to develop depth, Scott. We want to be able to play more and more guys, and it comes down to, we have to have guys out there that we have confidence and trust in, and we talk about our confidence is through our preparation, and we have to see the guys preparing the right way for us to have confidence in them, the team to have confidence in them, and then obviously them to have confidence in themselves. And we're getting better in that aspect, and we're going to continue to move forward that way. But you can't just put 11 dudes out there and expect them to make it through the course of a game. The more guys we can play, the more guys we have invested in our growth as a defense, and in each particular unit as well, the better we will be, and we'll continue to get better.
And finally, one player whose stats might not jump off the page because it's hard to really qualify and quantify what he does in stats, but Clay Cromwell has been there really since the outset this season.
Stud, absolute stud. Just we call it the Clay Cromwell factor. Like, he just demands double teams. They cannot just single block him. I thought he was really a dominant football player on Saturday, and you generally notice the line moving one way or another throughout the course of the game. I don't always notice actual individuals, but on Saturday noticed his individual play on the field, and then obviously you go back and watch on tape, and it was even more dominant than I felt like it was on the field.
And he's done it against some pretty impressive offensive lines this season.
He has. He's a really, really good football player. He prepares the right way. I think Coach Hall does an amazing job making sure he understands the game plan, the looks he's going to see from the offense. And I think Clay's been in a lot of battles and understands what it's like to work in those tight confines and tight spaces, and he excels in there. And I'll be honest with you, he made some really nice plays in space. He, quarterback cut back on a scramble and broke back across Will Harbor's face, and Clay Cromwell was right there. Got a great shot on the ball. We didn't get the ball out there, but he got another shot on the ball there. Slammed him into the turf in space, which was a big play in the football game. So he made plays in space and plays in the box.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks, Scott.
Wags.
Well, PJ, can you talk about the defensive line as a whole? I think every single one of them had career highs for tackles. Biscuit had 10 tackles for a nose guard. It's pretty phenomenal. And Justin Reed had 8. That was a career high. And I believe Cromwell's was a career high as well, 8.
Yeah, I thought they played exceptional football on Saturday. I was really, and I thought they would, because they practiced that way. They were on edge all week. Coach Hall was on edge all week. I thought he did an excellent job preparing those guys for what was going to happen in the game. And I thought they executed at a really high level and played at a high level and controlled the line of scrimmage.
Well, we had talked last week about Air Force's, the offensive line was their strength, and you talked about how impressed you were with them. I mean, does that speak volumes of your defensive line that they not only neutralized, I mean, you'd have to say, based on the numbers, that they won that matchup?
Yeah, I think our defensive line, that's where everything starts for us defensively. And anybody that's been in our recruiting meetings knows that that's a major area emphasis for us. And it's what we pride ourselves on defensively. And, you talk about lineman wins games and defense wins championships. Well, the common denominator is the defensive line. And if you want to be able to do those things, you have to play well in the trenches. And those guys gave us an opportunity to win the football game on Saturday. Obviously, we came up a little bit short, but I thought they played at a high level, and I think they keep getting better every week. But if you can't control the trenches, you don't have a chance. And I thought those guys rose to the occasion, and I was not surprised because of what they've done previously and the way they've prepared. And like I said before, my confidence in them is extremely high. And I know our defense has a lot of trust in those guys up front. Those guys have been in a lot of battles and really performed well time after time. Coach Hall is an excellent coach, and those guys are great players.
So obviously Ramos had 11 tackles. He had a big game. Coach Newberry thought he played perhaps his best game and that he's playing his best football. What can you say about Colin Ramos?
I've this is, I believe it's my 19th year coaching. This is my 18th year coaching linebackers. I cannot tell you off the top of my head where one other linebacker I've coached had the type of game that he had on Saturday. I thought he was exceptional. I thought he was all over the field. He avoided blocks. He destroyed blocks from big guys, small guys, anybody in between. Found his way to the football over and over. I just thought he was like smoke through a keyhole out there at times, playing the linebacker position. He read his keys exceptionally well. We put a lot on him in terms of identifying what they were doing offensively and being able to get us in and out of calls. I thought he handled that extremely well. I told the entire defense and the entire linebacking core that's as good as I've seen a linebacker in all my years of coaching play on Saturday.
Last one before I turn it over to Pete Meadhurst. How does Ramos get it done at 5'11", 215 pounds at what is an incredibly physically demanding position?
You know what? Wags, I would love to tell you I know the secret sauce and I'd bottle it up and sell it to every guy in the room and all those types of things. I think he's got I think he has an amazing instincts. And he is able to maintain focus for an entire football game. And I think he's got an intense competitive desire to win his matchups. He's a violent football player. He's a physical football player. He plays with extreme detail. He's not your prototypical size, but he's got all the skills that you want an inside linebacker to have. He's got instincts. He's got violence. He's got the ability to play in the gray when you're not exactly sure what may happen. He's able to diagnose plays quickly, read his keys. He's able to make plays in the pass game and in the run game. He's able to blitz, put pressure on the quarterback. He's able to strike and hold point. He's able to get on the edges. He's a really, really good football player.
Pete Medhurst.
Just to follow up on him real quick, PJ, I mean, that's a team that throws a lot at you formationally, motion-wise. Does that make it even more, astounding that he had that type of a game just because of what this team does basically on offense where they throw a lot at you?
Yeah, I think they're as challenging as anybody we play offensively. I think they do a great job on offense with what you just said, formationally, all the different schemes they give you, fitting up all the multitude of run game plays that they have. And a lot of those fits are drastically different. I think it just speaks volumes of him being able to do the things that he was able to do, and make no mistake about it. Those two things are tied together that we just talked about. Like the defensive line playing in the manner that they played enables the guys behind them to be able to be clean and be able to make plays that they need to make. So it all starts up front with those guys and their level of play. But I think Air Force is as challenging an offense as you can play in Division I college football. They do a great job.
At the same time, we talk about, when offenses get in rhythm and then all of a sudden there's a bye week, your defensive group seems to be in a really good place right now. Are you kind of, sad there's not a game this week that they can continue that rhythm that they seem to be in right now defensively as well?
I think whenever you don't come out on top, you want to get back out there as soon as possible and get that taste off your mouth. So I think that's probably the most frustrating thing about this bye week right now. We talked to the entire defense yesterday. The reason we've improved from Notre Dame till now is the way that we've gone about our work and practicing, and we're doubling down on that. So they give us more opportunities to practice before the next time we go out there. We've got to get better. And we talked about stacking those days before. That's what's got to happen. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody in the program that doesn't want to get back out there as soon as possible right now.
In theory, the nose guard is, to occupy blockers. But the fact that Donald not only occupied blockers to help those linebackers, as those numbers indicate, but for him to have that many tackles, just how extraordinary is that from the nose tackle position? Because we just don't see that type of production analytically, at least from a nose guard.
I learned quickly once I got here, when you get into these CIC games, you have to have great nose guard play. In the games that we've played well, and the games we haven't, we have not played well. And more times than not, we've played well because of Biscuit in there. He's a guy, again, like he's not going to pass the eyeball test. And then you throw him in the weight room, and he's probably not going to blow you away in terms of his strength numbers and things like that. But man, is he a good football player. And he understands leverage, scheme. He's physical. He's competitive. He's violent. I think it comes back down to a lot of those intangible things. And I think he's very, very well coached. He understands coaching. He knows exactly where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there. He's able to anticipate the blocking schemes that he's going to get because of his film study and his preparation. You talk about, Biscuit and Ramos, like those are two guys that that probably study as much film as anybody on the team and find time to do it on their own and understand what's going on in front of you. I'll get questions, text messages, statements from both those guys about very specific things that they've seen watching film. So there's no surprise to me when they play at that level because of the work they put in.
Let's throw in one more just to talk about the two guys you're talking about there. Neither guy in theory passes the eye test, but how do you identify? How long does it take you and a staff to identify the fact that they may not pass the eye test, but man, they look like really good football players? How long does that process take to find them?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because both of them have a very similar story where they were down on scout team for the beginning part of the season, and then get pulled up from scout team because they played so well down there, and then Biscuit obviously didn't being a defensive line, you don't play as many special teams as a linebacker would. But Ramos sort of got his opportunity halfway through the season his freshman year playing on punt return. And then you see, flashes of it on film, in those situations, and you're like, okay, he's got a little something about him, and then you see it more and, you give them a little bit more opportunity and then you see it some more. And then all of a sudden it becomes, okay, we can really trust that guy because he just consistently does his job at a high level over and over again. And sometimes it's faster than others. I'd love to tell you that there's a timeline for that, but I think it's just as coaches, we spend a lot of time watching the film and analyzing every little piece of it. And you see guys playing with what Coach Newberry calls fixation to detail, playing intelligent football, playing with violence, and you just end up giving them more and more opportunities to go out there. But I'm really impressed with both those guys and got impressed with them pretty quickly once they got their opportunity, and they've just continued to grow from there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Bernard has started 37 consecutive games at nose guard for Navy. Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, while we might not see them out there on Saturdays, how is the development of your threes, the guys that are going to be the future of this team, the younger guys that you see in practice every day?
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys are getting better, and we've made a concerted effort. We're probably a little bit different than most teams across the country, where our threes get reps daily in practice, and we understand that that's important. This is a developmental football program, and we've got to we take advantage of the time we get on the field, keep the main thing. But we've seen a lot of guys that have gotten better through this point of the season. There's several of them, and in the linebacker room, there's several of them where early in the year, it's like, man, they're a long ways away. But now, a little past halfway point of the season, you're like, man, he's starting to come along. He's going to be a pretty doggone good player here by the time it's all said and done. So it's just investing in people and investing in their future, and us not focusing just on the ones. We got to make sure we get the ones, the twos, the threes reps, because the threes are 2 snaps away from being the ones. Yeah, and we got to make sure that if they're put into that situation, they're prepared.
And does that also help with them in their development because they see maybe some light at the end of the tunnel because they're seeing, the potential for what they can do, getting that opportunity?
I think so. I think it's human nature, Scott, is you want to get out on the field. If you're a competitor, if you're playing Division I football, if you're on the Navy football team, football is incredibly important to you and you want to play. I think we talked to the guys about everybody's got a role on the football team, and whatever your role is, do the best of your ability at that role. And if you don't like it, the best way not to have that role anymore is to do really well in that role to get out of it. So I think we've got a lot of guys that have embraced those things and have gotten better. And I think, that as coaches, you get excited about that stuff. Like you see a guy starting to come along, starting to develop. As coaches, that just continues to fuel your fire to continue to invest in them and continue to develop them. And as players, you get, 10 reps at practice. The next practice you want 12, and then you want 14. Like that's how that works. Like you want them to be hungry to get out there and get more reps. And I think we got to take advantage of that this week in the bye week. And I know Coach Newberry is going to structure practice so we can get a lot of those young guys and those guys in the 3 and 4 spots more and more reps.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Flags.
So PJ, Will Harbor and Colin Ramos are not exactly the most talkative guys. Strauss and I were just talking before we went on that Will's getting better at doing interviews, but I don't sense that he loves doing interviews, and Colin doesn't say much. What's it like in the inside linebackers room?
You picked up on that, huh, Wags?
Yes.
Yeah. I do think Will's getting a little bit more comfortable with it. It's not necessarily his deal. I probably was the same way when I was his age. I don't know if you're going to get many words out of Colin as well. But the room itself, that's a place where we really strive to create an environment where everybody's allowed to speak and ask questions. I think as a young coach, I was a little bit more of a dictator in there, and ruled by fear. And when we got let go at Georgia State, by the end, you just sort of reevaluate things, and you're like, man, I think I created an environment in there where guys didn't feel like they could answer questions, or if they got a question wrong, I would jump down their throat. And really evaluated that, made sure that was not the case when we got to Kennesaw, and then made sure that was not the case when we got here. But, we want our meetings to be conversational in there. Coaches joke before, sometimes it's like a dojo at times as well, where I'll ask a question and they'll all give the exact same answer at the exact same time. But that's just sort of how we operate in there. But it's a great group, and it's led by those two guys. And Will's as great a leader as I've been around. Joke about him about his public speaking and all that type of stuff. But he's an intentional and as great a leader as I've been around. And like I said before, 19 years of coaching. And Colin is a man of few words, but his actions speak so loud. I don't need to hear what he's saying.
You can use Kenny McShann as the spokesperson for the room.
Kenny's definitely the spokesperson, and Kenny's got that $1 million smile too.
I had one other question before Pete comes on. I don't mean to bring up bad news, but on the 94-yard pass play, Luke Pierce matched up against the guy that's one of their fastest receivers. He's the punt returner in Kinnaman. Was Duarte get caught looking in the backfield there?
That was we did not execute that properly, and it is entirely my fault.
Pete.
So great leaders do. They take accountability. I like that. You talked about the language of Harbor and Ramos, but don't they speak the language of football eloquently and loudly?
Yeah, we I definitely think they do. They understand football. I think the game's slowed down for both of those guys, and they're able to execute at a real high level. They do speak the language. We joke around about that, and I don't know if that's exactly what you're referring to, but I'll give you a little insight. Yeah. We say we speak El Bistanese in there. So that's the language that we speak when we're in our meeting room, and obviously the unit meeting room, we speak Dark Cityan. So that's just our little joke when we're in there, is so we're able to all communicate on the same level. And those guys get it. They study football. They put the time in. They prep the right way. They prepare the right way. I'm really, really pleased with the growth of those guys and just everything they bring to the table. And I think they really set the tone for the defense and for specifically the LB room.
A bye week this late in the season, is it basically the same, going back and taking the opportunity to refine technique, make sure you're still playing that way, to make sure you finish the month of November as strong as possible?
Yeah, I think we get an opportunity to go out to practice. We got to go out there and with a concerted effort to improve, to get better. So, I'm looking forward to getting out there with the guys today. We'll get back to, obviously playing more of a traditional offense than we just played this previous week. So it'll be good for us to get some more reps back at that and be able to dust off some things that we had done previously and refine some things fundamentally, that we've got to be able to do, against a more traditional offense, line up a little deeper, all that type of stuff.